Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for the Daily African Proverbs. Today, I'm so excited to be here with you. My name is Simon Okelo. One moment. Perfect. My name is Simon Okelo. I'm in Seattle, Washington, but I'm from Kisumu, Kenya originally. And I'm excited to always be here. Every single day we've been gathering for the Daily African Proverbs here in the African Father in America Club on Clubhouse. Every day we share an African proverb, we dissect it, we gain African wisdom from it. And today, this session is being recorded for the African Father in America podcast, and we are also live streaming this on YouTube, so we have an audience over there as well. But we have a South Sudanese proverb today, and the proverb says, "It is a fool who rejects. It's a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble." It is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. This proverb is also my Instagram post. It's the latest Instagram post. You can engage with it over there, or you can take a look at it over there in case you didn't understand it. But whenever we gather here in the Daily African Proverbs, we learn from each other. Our hope is that by the end of our conversation, we gain some wisdom so that as we leave the room going into our day or our night, because some people are in places where it's evening, we are equipped with some African wisdom that can help us deal with our situation. So my thought when I looked at today's proverb, "It is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble." This is something that I grew up listening to a lot. This is like a warning type of proverb. As a teenager growing up in Manyata, I grew up in Manyata in Kisumu, Kenya. We were very mischievous. We were the little boys in the neighborhood that were imitating even people with disabilities. And when we were seen by grown-ups and we were being chased around and being told, "It is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble." What you do for others today is going to be done to you tomorrow. You are imitating someone's child right now because they are disabled or their situation is unfortunate, but tomorrow it will be you that somebody else will be laughing at. So this proverb, just brought memories of growing up in Manyata and being mischievous and learning from those moments and being told, the impact of some of the things that I did and how I grew up from those moments to the person that I am today. So this is a warning type of proverb. I want to welcome you all. I see Kelsey, Sean, Mama Yama. I'm going to invite you all on stage so that you can also share with me your interpretation for today's proverb. Again, I see Raphael as well, Vicky, Ambuso. I see Roger, Chioma, Kesiwa. Thank you all for being here with us. And I also see Adefo and Mercy and Star and Avo. Thank you for being here with us. Tomorrow, by the way, we have a really amazing opportunity. We are interviewing Zizi, who is an Egyptian author that she's written amazing books. But tomorrow we are interviewing her in the African Wisdom Club at, I think it's 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Typically it's normally 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but she might come in the room, and I would be introducing her to you all. Again, today's proverb is, it is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. You know, this proverb, I just remembered, it also applies to the current coronavirus situation, where we have countries that have abundance of the vaccine, and then we have countries that have very little access to the vaccines, and people don't even care that there's no balance, there's no equality in that regard. So I wanted to throw that there as well as part of my interpretation for today's proverb. I want to introduce Sean so that Sean can also share her interpretation of today's proverb. And Sean Anderson is a regular attendee of the Daily African Proverbs. She's someone that we all have a lot of appreciation for. She's saying that your present circumstances, this is a quote by Nido Kubain, your present circumstances do not determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. Sean, share with us your interpretation of today's proverb. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Simon. I really appreciate you providing this platform. These proverbs are they're really wonderfully sustaining every day. It's great. And Cheeto, it's good to see you. And I love your photo since you've changed it. It's really very powerful. This proverb, so the first things that I thought of were, like you said, the COVID virus, and also because I live in California, the wildfires, and how easy it would be, for one of those fires to jump into the area that I live and completely decimate where I live as well. So to look at them and to say, oh, well, there's a lot of finger pointing here in America right now, where people are looking at each other and pointing fingers a lot and saying, oh, well, it's because of the choices you made that you brought this calamity on yourself. And see, I'm smart enough, and I'm, whatever enough to keep myself from getting in that situation. And so there's a lot of laughing in that way, in that very egotistical way that's happening right now. But the truth is that, we're all in this together, and we need to have compassion for each other. And it reminds me of like 40 years ago, Ladysmith Black Mambazo came out with this really wonderful album of South African children's stories that they put together called The Gift of the Tortoise. And within that album, there's this really amazing story about the boy who was turned into a cat. And it was about this boy who was just awful. He would go around making fun of people who were old or sick or disabled or things like that. And his parents tried to teach him right, but for whatever reason, he refused to listen. And eventually one day he was making fun of this really old man who had been crippled with arthritis and things like that, or at least in my mind, I always imagined it was arthritis and things like that. But it turned out that the man was magic, and he turned the boy into probably the ugliest cat in history. So this boy is wandering around the earth for years and years and years, crying and lamenting his fate because he's been turned into this, horrendously ugly cat with 5 fingers for on his ears, and just really awful. And eventually the boy learns his lesson and is changed back into a boy again and comes home to his family. But I look at that with this proverb and think about, like you said, the COVID virus and how we're really just not handling it well here in America, even though we're in such a position of power, just like the young boy. We're in this position of youth and strength and things like that, and we're not being compassionate, and we're not being willing to share with our neighbors, and willing to um, love those who stand in need, and same with the wildfires and things like that. And as we do that, we just bring that calamity upon ourselves, and we need to learn how to reach out to each other and quit being so stupid, basically. So thank you for letting me share, and I look forward to hearing to what you have to say, Cheetah.
Thank you so much, Sean, for sharing with us your interpretation. And, I agree. There's so much that can always be done to make things better, especially when it comes to the way that the entire world is responding to the current coronavirus situation. So I'm grateful. Chido, I hope you're doing well. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you, and I want to invite everyone in the room to feel free to raise your hand if you want to join us on stage and share your interpretation of today's proverb. And the proverb is my latest Instagram post, and I'm also live tweeting, so you can engage with this conversation on Twitter. We are also live on YouTube. You can engage with this conversation over there as well. We will be hosting Evena. Evena is going to be our special guest on YouTube. You'll hear from him. He's an author from Haiti. He was in the room yesterday, and we will be hosting him very soon in the African Wisdom Club as well. So thank you all for being here. The proverb is, it is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. Wonderful. So Chido, Samantha, Mbabarira. Chido is an online business strategist by day and being human on Clubhouse by night. Chido believes that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Chido, share with us your interpretation of today's proverb. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Simon. And it's good to see you, Sean. I'm so happy I caught your interpretation. You're always so quick to come on stage, and I always have to hear what you said, and I miss it every time. So I'm so happy I get to catch your interpretation today. Hello, Chioma and Raphael. It's good to see you guys on stage. And as we are dissecting this amazing proverb that really got me thinking, I believe it's a South Sudan proverb, correct, Simon? And it says, "It is a fool who rejoices when a neighbor is in trouble." And, what came to mind was a line what Sean said, because she is my neighbor. I'm in Canada, and America is our neighbor. And yes, we do look at America, especially with COVID, with eyes wide open. When we see how you guys are handling the pandemic. But as your neighbor, we cannot rejoice in this because we are the ones who will probably support you. When we do not have enough vaccines, I believe the US is now sending us vaccines. I'm not sure if they did it in the beginning, but there's something to be said about proximity to people and how they can help you so much in times of need. I come from a community-based society, so usually your community neighbors could be family members, they could be friends. So laughing at your neighbors could be laughing at the very people who share the same blood, tradition, language as you. So definitely that would be in poor taste, but usually it's your neighbor who you're going to run to in the middle of a wildfire. It's your neighbor who you're going to run to when a crisis happens in your household. So making peace with the people closest to you is recommended. I know some people, that's not easy. I think of the neighbors, Zimbabwe, and we neighbor with South Africa. And what a turbulent history we've had with South Africa, because if anyone knows about what's going on in South Africa, Zimbabwe supported a lot of South Africa during apartheid. And we were one of the first countries to help, whether it was with food or the liberation struggle. And unfortunately, South Africa has evolved in not supporting other countries during the crisis. I think a lot of Zimbabweans are actually being banished and beaten if they are found to be Zimbabweans in South Africa, which warrants a whole nother conversation of, immigration. But it was so unfortunate that this proverb really does speak to exactly what's going on in South Africa and Zimbabwe, because they were our closest ally And when Zimbabwe looks at the demise of Zimbabwe has been looked upon from our neighbors with no help at all. I think when a country is going through conflict and it's not their neighbors that come to their rescue, it'll pretty much be you who will be in conflict next time, and you would look onto your neighbors for help. So there's something to be said in keeping your neighbors close, not just for protection, but for allyship, for community. They're the ones who are going to advocate for your sovereignty. They're the ones who are going to take your people in times of crisis. You look at how many countries have helped Afghanistan through so much crisis. You know, a lot of Afghani people could not flee such atrocities without the help of their neighbors like Pakistan and other communities that have helped them during the time of struggle. So I feel the ancestors are very thoughtful with this and make us remember to keep our neighbors close, and close in terms of community, close in terms of allyship. So that's what came up for me with this proverb. There's so many ways we can talk about how important our neighbors can be. So I really reflect on this proverb thoughtfully, whether I'm reflecting on the relationship Zimbabwe has, my motherland, or right now my adopted land, Canada, you know, and how we're looking at our American neighbors in during these times of crisis. So very different parallels, but I think the proverb still holds true that you'll be a fool to laugh at your neighbor in times of crisis. So that was my interpretation of the proverb. I'm excited to hear Chioma come in and share her interpretation. Now, you guys, Chioma absolutely loves seeing Black joy. She loves hearing of stories, seeing Africans on the continent and throughout the diaspora connect with each other. And they say call her a Pan-Africanist because that's how she would love to be called. Chioma, thank you so much for coming on stage. The proverb today, it is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. I pass the mic on to you, sis.
Hi, everybody. First of all, just thank you, moderators. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Cheeto. Cheeto! Oh my goodness. Like, come on with your interpretation and like with your history lesson. Like, that was so good. And when I tell you, you took the word proximity right out of my like head. It's so crazy because when I first saw the proverb, I was like, okay, simple. And I was like, wait a minute, no, this is actually very layered. And I was like thinking of it like literally all this morning. Crazy enough. So my first thing was like, you'd be a fool to rejoice because you'd be a fool to think that what is happening to your neighbor can't happen to you. And then I was thinking of like just like neighbor in terms of proximity. So you may not, you know, have deep connections or maybe spiritually close or emotionally close, but like proximity matters. And first of all, if something is happening in your house, in front of your house, behind your house, it's your neighbor who's going to be the person to see first, most likely, and you're going to need their help. And they're the first that is probably going to be able to like quickly actually help you first. And then it also just made me think that like you're a fool to think that what is happening to your neighbor cannot affect you. So you may be like, you know, oh, what's happening to my neighbor is not going to happen to me. But to think like that could possibly be true, right? But like to think that it's not going to affect you is so false. So this proverb to me like said like, you know, what happens in your community like affects your house. Like no matter which like what you think, what happens in your community, in your neighborhood is going to affect your house. So it just it was like a caution to like not be blindsided. And it was also an encouragement to get to know your neighbors, whether you like them or not, get to know them. Because you also need to like need their knowledge. You need to know what's happening because like what affects them is going to affect you. And it also really made me think of the book, Parable of the Sower, I read this year. And like it's so connected to this proverb, but like one quote that's there is like all that you touch you change, all that you change changes you, the only lasting truth is change. So to me it's like, you know, you move into a community, like it changes, you get you're connected or next door to a person, they change, or like what happens to them, like we affect each other like in ways that we don't even like know. So to rejoice is to not only be prideful, but to like close that like gate of like knowledge of just like knowing, which is really important. So that is my interpretation. My name is Chioma, and I'm complete.
Oh, thank you, Chioma. You brought so much energy and life to this, and I'm so happy we're on the same page with proximity. And I totally agree with your sentiments of, I know your neighbors are your community, and like, that really stuck out for me. People think community is such a bigger scale, but like you look at your neighbors first, and that really does show who your community is and how important. Because when they're doing good, you're probably doing good. Proximity to greatness, proximity to tragedy is so profound, whether it is in the at the micro level, just your neighbors, or at the macro level as countries. Um, these are the communities, and usually, I love. There's a saying, I know if someone's being blessed, it's you should celebrate when you see someone being blessed because that means blessings around the corner for you. And I think the sentiment's true. If you see your neighbors doing well, that means you're going to be doing well. So whether that's another country doing well or doing badly, that's going to affect you. That definitely will have a parallel effect to you. So your neighbors are totally ingrained in your own survival and how you're going to be situated and positioned in your community or in the world. So our neighbors are so important to us. They definitely have more impact on our lives than we maybe recognize. And I think this proverb is such a thoughtful way to look at our neighbors, whether it's across the street or globally, and how are they impacting us. And I think I'm excited to hear what Raphael and Roger and Dolly have to say. This is such a great, simple proverb, but I can tell we're going to be pulling so much goodies from it. So I really, really appreciate you, Chioma, coming up and sharing that with us. And I totally appreciate you today. Next, we're going to be hearing from Raphael. Raphael, I really love when you come up and you just pour so beautifully. You're a podcast host. He has the White Label American podcast. He's a dad. He's Brooklyn based, but he loves the motherland, and he has ties to Nigeria and Ghana. It's always a pleasure, Raphael, to have you come in and share your wisdom with us. It is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. I pass the mic on to you, Raphael.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the introduction, Tito, my sister. And funny thing was that I was listening to um, Octavia E. Butler's episode on True Line podcast, which I recommend to everybody that you listen to because a lot of things they talked about corresponds to today's proverb. So I highly recommend that on True Line podcast, and I recommend that podcast in general. So another fun fact, my sister went on earlier also mentioned Pakistan, and without Pakistan, you wouldn't have today's problem in Afghanistan because that's where the Taliban built their army base and rebounded. So back to today's proverb. I used three quick stories to just give my scenario about to my interpretation. So first one is something that was quite common, which we used as a joke. There was always somebody who was very good at catching, I'll say catching or well, going after the women, but it was like any woman goes. There's a joke like 18 to 80, as far as they could move. They had legs. Any woman goes. It didn't matter if they were married. It didn't matter. Any woman was available. It didn't matter. The dude went after them. And then one day, dude falls in love and finds the woman he wants to settle down with. And finally, it's like everything happily married after the sweet romantic, the fairy tale. And one day, the woman he catches his wife or sweetheart in an affair, and all hell breaks loose. So now, does he remember the people's hearts he was breaking back when he was that guy who was 18 to 80? Because when he was doing it, it was woo, everything goes. It was easy to laugh at other people like you weren't strong enough to hold on to your woman. This guy was the guy, he was the person. So it became when he was on top of form, it was everybody else was the neighbors. Where it was easy to laugh at the neighbors because he could go after his neighbor's wife, could go after his neighbor's daughters, could go after everybody. It didn't matter. He could go after your homeboys, get sisters. It didn't matter until you are now on the receiving end. So that story is one. I use more real life scenario, which comes from my favorite podcast, which I consider the best podcast in the world, from the black guy who tips, and he has this description that he uses when he talks about racism, why poor white people support racism, especially in America. And he says it's like we are all on a boat, and on this boat, we know the boat is sinking, but the poorer of the poorer white people, to their interpretation is that it will be us, especially black people, who will sink first. So F you sink, you go down. It don't matter. We know that everybody will sink on this boat, but as far as you sink first, I'm fine with the boat sinking. So I can support whatever racist policies I know will harm me, will harm my environment, will harm everybody, but you will die first. So as far as you die first, as far as you're the one who goes down first, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. And that's my second example. So, and then the third example is what's currently going on with a lot of African countries. So we have the beef between Nigeria and Ghana, which, if you know our history of the people in general, like my tribe, I don't know how it started, but my tribe is very much related to a lot of Ghanaians, and you find a lot of Ghanaians in my villages back home, and it's kind of vice versa. But right now, with this current administration, there's been a back and forth beef between both countries, throwing darts at each other. Yesterday, Algeria's government finally pulled it, ended diplomatic ties to Morocco, its next door neighbor, and the people don't have beef. If you've met Algerians and Moroccans in diaspora, they don't fight each other. They're cool. But the government have been fighting for years because Algeria supports Western Sahara, uh, the Western Sahara Republic, and Morocco supports insurgents inside of Algeria, fighting whichever government is in charge of Algeria. And we see all that in Eastern Africa. We've had the Tanzania, the current president just opened the borders with and restored trade with Kenya. We had Uganda also with Rwanda. Rwanda has troops inside fighting, supporting rebels, fighting in DR Congo, the never-ending war in DR Congo. And you look at all that, it's like, what is the relationship with neighbor? At the same time, African heads of state have signed the free trade agreement, which, if implemented, will boost the whole African economy. It will make people, there's the tourism agreement too that will make it easier for, instead of all Africans thinking of going to Dubai. Why is everybody going to Dubai for holiday? Why don't you think about going to visit your neighbor? Why don't you go visit your next door neighbor? When the volcano happened in Iceland, early 2000, people didn't really care about a volcano in Iceland until Barcelona's match got affected, and all the African guys were like, oh my God, Barcelona can't win this match. Then that's when we now care about what's happening in the country, kind of like where we now care about what's happening in Afghanistan, although Taliban never went away. We now care about Afghanistan now. But, until it affected us in the way it bites us. But guess what? Goma in DR Congo had a volcano a few months ago. Nobody said anything. People died. It wiped out almost, took out a lot of a village, or two, or three. And, so who's speaking up for the neighbors there? We don't care. We don't show concern. We're not asking for the people to be placed in countries that are not taking them in. And I'm not against taking Afghan students. I support refugees. I support all that. But I'm like,
Evena, how are you, my brother? Say something.
it bites us in a certain way.
I am well. I am well.
Perfect.
So you are also on the Clubhouse as well.
Yes. So come on stage on Clubhouse, and then I will keep you muted there, and you will be able to speak through YouTube. You'll speak through my account from YouTube.
Okay, so let me see if I can. If I this, I'm on my phone. If I close this, I lose you.
Oh no. Then just stay where you are. Don't worry about anything else.
Oh, just go to the clubhouse real quick, and
You were just there a moment ago, right?
I think I might still be there on the clubhouse.
No, you're not in the room. You're not in the room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not in the clubhouse room.
Right, let me do this. Let me get off my computer instead.
No. Stay here. Stay here so that you can speak to the clubhouse audience through this. So it's fine. Unless you want to be in the
Because how do I speak to the clubhouse audience here?
just the way you are. You will be able to. I will be able to let them know who is speaking. But it would be nice if you are in the clubhouse room. Then they can see your profile picture there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's best that way too.
Yeah.
I haven't done it that way.
Huh?
You pretty tacky guy.
But you sound good this way.
Oh,
Yeah. If
okay.
you go to your laptop, you will not sound as good as you do now.
Okay.
And the picture won't look as good. The phone somehow looks good on on YouTube, and for streaming purposes, phones seems to work better, especially for guests. For me, I
Yes.
use an external camera, and I think because we are on, we are live. People are watching us on YouTube, so I think we should just stay on.
Okay.
Yeah. So next
Awesome.
time, next time.
Great.
But yeah, so today's proverb speaks to me in so many ways, and it's tied to me in so many ways, and tied to the whole world because it relates to every corner of it. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity, and you all have a great day.
Cheetah speaking. Thank you so much, Raphael. You just gave everyone a preview of what to expect from your podcast. You give such thought-provoking, rich, textured history. Whenever you come up and speak and share with us, it's truly appreciated. Thank you so much, and definitely tap into Raphael's podcast, guys. He's having some really great discussions there, as you can tell, whenever he comes up and shares with us on stage. You're so appreciated, Raphael. Thank you so much.
Right.
I just want to do a quick welcome because I see I got my sister, Tiff, who's in the room. Hey, Tiff. We got our sister, Samantha, and Tara, and Bibi. So good to see so many familiar faces in the Daily African Proverb Room. We host this room every day at 6 a.m. Pacific time. And we do this every day where you can come in and take a seat at the table as our goal is to make our ancestors smile. And that is something we do every day with our fierce leader, Simon, who is the African father in America. He's everywhere, guys, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram. We're doing live video on YouTube right now. He is tweeting. He's got a podcast. Simon, there's nothing you do not do. There's absolutely nothing. He's everywhere. And you'll see, if you typed in today's Proverbs in Google, guys, you'll probably see the number one hits are Simon's YouTube and podcasts every day. He's so committed and so passionate about what he's doing here because he is changing the narrative of Africa. And we are doing this as our first step with the Daily African Proverbs by dissecting proverbs from our ancestor and changing our knowledge into wisdom as we reflect on the ancestors. So if you love the continent, love the culture, you're in the right place. We love to have people come on stage and share with us the interpretations. We will typically close hand raising at half the hour, so we have turned off hand raising, but you can still tweet us or leave a comment on Simon's Instagram profile and let us know what came up for you. Simon, I'm just checking in. How are you? How is the live YouTube and tweeting going?
It's going great, actually. And in fact, I have a special guest who is joining us on YouTube. He's not on the Clubhouse conversation. He was here a moment ago, but he's an author of the book alike, regardless, and he's a motivational speaker, and he's also, an expert in diversity and inclusion, but he's an inspiring brother from Haiti who has been really an amazing human being to connect with through Clubhouse. And now, we are learning more about each other. And I just wanted Evena Durosu to introduce himself briefly and share his interpretation of today's proverb, and then share with us why you wrote your book, so that we can give everyone in the room a glimpse of what they should expect when we host you in the African Wisdom Club in the next few weeks. Go ahead, my brother.
Thank you so much, Simon. I am so honored to be in this space this morning. And brother, I thank you so much. And this is something that I have been saying to people all the time. We need to change the narrative of the motherland, because everyone, regardless of who you are, tracing back thousands of years, everyone is from Africa. So we need to continue doing what you're doing right now, which is changing the narrative of Africa. My name is Evena Durosu. I, just like you mentioned, I was made in Haiti, an extension of the motherland. Uh, I currently live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am an author, motivational speaker on diversity and inclusion. I wanted to, the proverb, just please remind me again. I read it briefly this morning. Simon, please.
It says, it is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. And speak to what's going on in Haiti. For me, I think it applies to what's going on in Haiti, because the crises in Haiti have been going on for a while. And honestly, I feel like the whole world has not responded appropriately, from Africa Union to the US, the European Union. If the same thing happened in France, the response would have been different, right?
Yes, yes, yes. You are absolutely right. And and I have to say, many nations have responded before, but it seems like there was this time a 7.1 earthquake. Not so many people are responding to this disaster that happened. And my country, Haiti, uh, doesn't seems to be getting a break. It's either uh, issues with politics or natural disasters. We can't seem to get a break, and it is really time that other people, other nations, and other social groups put together to help us go through what we are going through right now. And as to comment on this proverb, yes, I believe this proverb is so on point. If you are rejoicing on the suffering, on the misfortune of your neighbor, you are absolutely a fool. Because we as human, we should look at ourselves as an extension of the next person. Because without uh, without other people, you are absolutely nothing. Because look at this wonderful project that we have going on right now. You have to have people signing in, you have people share and add value to the platform, add value to the conversation. We need each other. We absolutely need each other, because this is the reason we were created. We're created to build relationship. And when I mean relationship, and I mean it in the sense, there are three types of relationship. Is relationship with your creator, whoever you believe in. For me, is God. And relationship with yourself, and relationship with other people. The three types of relationships. Now, we are put on this planet, which we call the ship. This planet is our ship. So we are to relate while we live in that ship. As I mentioned yesterday, it's a free ship. We get free rent. Now, our job is to treat each other with kindness, with love, and with goodness, because this is our ship. And if we don't do that, the ship will sink with us in it if we don't continue to push ourselves to love each other. So, yes, you are a fool, definitely a fool, if you don't understand that your essence as a human being to care for each other, even when you cannot directly do something, but act with empathy. Empathy, understand that other people going through things, that it could be you. It could be you, or it could be one of your loved ones. So I appreciate you bringing Haiti to the topic. Um, this is my country, and and I love all of you guys, because you guys all of my brothers and sisters, and you are an extension of me. Secondly, the book. I wrote this book to challenge the norm of division present in humankind. As I mention all the time, we live in a world that's a big divide. Whether it's a racial divide or social economic divide, there is a divide, regardless of where you live. And in a country like Africa, there's a divide. In a country like Haiti, there's a divide. In the United States, there's a divide. There's a divide everywhere. But really, the step to fixing that divide is to begin to understand the things that are behind that divide. Things like hatred and bigotry, jealousy, envy, and the list is so long. We need to understand these things and work together to bring a solution. This is how we can really create a better world and influence other people to understand these things and continue the conversation. And that conversation, what is that? Understanding that we are all human, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, social class, whatever attribute that you think that makes you different with other people. It is a oneness that's very beautiful. It is also how we are different, because the world would not be good if we're all the same. The differences has beauty in it. There's beauty in the differences. So I wanted to make it brief, but I probably spoke too much. But I encourage you to continue what you're doing, Simon, and everyone on the stage right now. And you can check out my book. It's available on Amazon and on every platform where books are sold. It's on audio, Kindle, paperback, and hardback. And I thank you so much for sharing this space with me. And I love you all. And I am complete for now. My name is Evena.
Thank you very much, Evena. I'm so grateful for everything you shared with us, and also for sharing with us where we can get copies of your book. Tomorrow we are hosting Zizi, who is going to share with us shortly. Zizi is in the room. We are hosting Zizi in the African Wisdom Club, where we will be hosting Evena in a couple of weeks. So if you want to have the experience of what the African Wisdom Club is like, tomorrow is the day, and you can follow Zizi and learn more about her, and you'll hear her voice in a moment. But even I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to continue working with you and to continue making a difference and to continue being the bridge so that we can reduce the differences that truly exists around the world. And those divisions are how we are being controlled in all over the world. So it's just good to also focus on how can we work closely with one another. And I think that's part of what today's proverb speaks to. It is a fool who rejoices when the neighbor is in trouble. Thank you for joining us for the Daily African Proverbs here on Clubhouse. We've been learning so much from everyone that has joined us on stage to share. And thank you to everyone who is joining us on YouTube as well. I am so grateful for this community that we are building around, protecting and preserving African culture, especially African proverbs, and passing it on to our children and our children's children by recording it. And currently, this is being recorded for the African Father in America podcast. So thank you so much, for your love and support. At this moment, I'm going to introduce Roger. Roger Tan is also an amazing contributor to the Daily African Proverbs. He's the savage Asian. And Roger he says that as the man of the house, I absolutely always have the last word. And the last word is usually, yes, honey. Roger, what's your interpretation of today's proverb?
Thank you, Simon. I wish to frame today's interpretation in the context of my homeland, Singapore. This proverb is a stern reminder that whatever happens to your neighbors can eventually happen to you. And because Singapore is a nation of 6 million or less packed onto a tiny landmass, whatever happens to our neighbors is likely to affect us much worse if it happens to us. Roughly 10 to 20 years ago, a tsunami hit Thailand, and I remember thinking, if that had hit further south, we would not be talking about a ruined beach or thousands of lost lives. We would be talking about the eradication of an entire nation. About 5 years ago or so, there were forest fires in Indonesia, and our entire island was under a choking cloud of ash for an entire month. And when the pandemic hit, just 2 years ago, much of our workforce was affected because a huge number of them came from our neighboring countries. And we couldn't let them back in because allowing the pandemic to take a hold here would sink us fast. But we couldn't close our borders the way China did, or Australia did, or New Zealand did, because that would also cause us to sink. It would cause us to sink slower, but nevertheless, we would still sink. So in closing, I'd like to say that a crisis happening to your neighbors is not a cause for rejoicing. It's a cause for grave concern. My name is Roger. I'm complete.
Wow, thank you very much, Roger. You just took us through so many different journeys and shared with us very many different interpretations of this proverb. So thank you very much. Chido, do you want to add something real quick before I introduce Zizi?
I was applauding Roger because, like he said, when your neighbors are in trouble, that should be concerning. You shouldn't be rejoicing. And I feel I think he hit the nail on the head with the word concern. And so what we do with that concern, that is most important when we think of anyone who's our neighbor who's in conflict. How can we turn concern into something more? I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. So I really appreciated Roger's interpretation. I'm complete.
Thank you so much, Chido. I would love to introduce Zizi, and then I'll ask Evena to just share with us a closing remark in regards to how this room has been And then when this room ends, normally I go live on Instagram for 10 to 15 minutes with my brother, the Kikombe. But the Kikombe is on a date today. So I am going to be joined by Raphael, the host of the White Label America podcast, for the recap right after this room ends. But I want to introduce the amazing Zizi. Zizi, also her real name is Zena Mubarak Gatit. And Zizi is, sharing a quote by Rumi here. And she says, wear gratitude like a clock and it will feed every corner of your life. Thank you so much, Zizi. Zizi is an extremely accomplished author, leader, clinical psychologist, but an elder too. Zizi is 85 and she's been one of my greatest supporters on this clubhouse street. So thank you, Zizi.
You're welcome, Simon. It's an honor to be able to be on your stage and to even have anything to do with you. You're my saint. You are a real saint for all the work that you're doing. You're an example for all youth, to find someone like you. I am honored. And what I would like to say here, it's very sad that this happens to us in Africa. When things happen in Africa, the whole world seems to become blind to it and not do very much because, it's Africans who are, half naked, don't know, have food, or like they have a very bad perception that they're always showing in their movies and stuff. So instead of being compassionate, given that Africa is the richest continent with all its diamonds that they take with blood and all that, it's we have to be compassionate. So we have to love. Like not only to countries, but to individuals. Yesterday, I learned a very, very strong lesson. Another fact of life, like no matter how enthusiastic and accomplished that I am, I'm still a mother, a weak human being who, when something happens to your son, you just feel in anguish and pain. And I found out yesterday after I had a good time with an Arabic gratitude room, I found out my son had a hole in his heart and they had to do surgery for him. At this moment, I felt weak, vulnerable as a woman, as a mother that is finding out something really serious about her son. So all of a sudden, and I felt I should really pour myself, be alone, meditate, pray, and pour a lot of love and compassion on me because I was in anguish. Then after prayer and all that, the love that people poured on me all over, praying for him, and I regained myself because we need to give time to ourselves to heal, and we need to heal with our countries. We need to heal everywhere by pouring love and compassion instead of always, taking a cold shoulder to things and not really caring what happens to our neighbors, to our family members, to whoever is around us. And take, a close example for us is Simon. After that, I was able to get on with my life and just pray. But then I also, for another fact of life, being on a wheelchair, I can't go and see him. They had to let him go to his bedroom in his home because of the COVID virus here in Canada. It's coming back, and with the Delta virus as well. So that put another fact of life that I can't go and see him until he's well enough to come and see me because my wheelchair will not go upstairs to see him. So that's another painful situation that I needed to feel for myself and allow myself to feel a lot of love and compassion, not only from others, but from me to myself. Because self-love is very important. You can't pour love to people if you don't pour it on yourself first. So this is my little contribution. Thank you, Simon. And thank you, everybody on this. I love you all.
Wow, Zizi, thank you. Thank you for, being here with us and for just being so open and you know, and free with us like that. And you know, I'm sending you all the love that I can, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you tomorrow in the African Wisdom Club, so that we can, you know, learn more about your work as well, and your most recent book. So thank you so much. If you want to learn more about Zizi, you'll be seeing me posting. My next post is actually going to be the flyer that was created by Helen. Helen is now helping us run the affairs of the African Wisdom Club, and she's an amazing Ugandan sister who, you know, I also connected with her through this app, through Clubhouse. And I don't know, I just feel like the African Wisdom Club is such a critical piece of our conversation as a people right now. So if you're not following the club, please do. Zizi, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, will you be sending me a link to join the conversation? Because I don't know where to go. No, technology is not my big feat here. It's my weakest link. So will someone be able to, or shall I just try and go to the club or what?
Oh no, we will send you everything before tomorrow. So Ellen is going to email
Okay.
you with everything today.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you so much, Zizi. And now I want to pass the microphone to my brother Evena Duros, who is with me here on YouTube. And again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel on YouTube, it's my full name, Simon Javan Okelo. I share all the conversations from the Daily African Proverbs there, and you can, you know, listen and watch yesterday's conversation and the day before, and also the day before that, and we'll be adding all the previous conversations there as well, but they'll be available on all podcasting platforms as well. Again, thank you for being here with us. I'll pass it to Evena, and once Evena shares his closing remarks, we are going to end our room today, and we are going to be on Instagram for the recap with Raphael. We are going to talk about what stood out during that Instagram live. We are going to talk about what was surprising during this conversation, as well as what was the biggest lesson. So if you have a moment, come and spend it with us over there. Thank you so much. Evena, the mic is now yours, my brother.
Thank you, Brother Simon. Miss Zizi, it is so great to meet you. I haven't seen you yet, but it is so great to hear your voice. And I like what you shared about treating people with compassion. And it is very important right now in this world, because it is something that we lack a lot. We're struggling to exercise compassion to our fellow human. Uh, that's why I really like that point, and I look forward to connect with you and follow you on Instagram as well as the Clubhouse. So this platform has been amazing, and I believe this app, the Clubhouse, is the future, because we are using our most precious gift, which is our voice, our most precious gift, to edify, to inspire, to motivate other people. It is it is something that we can feed each other with positivity, and when we use a platform like this, and especially using African proverbs, uh, the African proverbs are full of wisdom, and I call this room my morning breakfast, because it's breakfast for the soul, and you need something to in the morning like this to feed your soul, to feed your heart before you start your day. And I am so honored to be here and with everyone. And this proverb, not rejoicing on the misfortune, on the suffering of your fellow neighbors, is very powerful. And what I want to say, it is important that we treat each other with grace and empathy, and also with compassion, like Ms. Zizi said. Without that, we can't really move forward and and be be good and be healthy spiritually. And another thing that Ms. Zizi said, loving yourself. I believe loving yourself is a prerequisite of loving another person, because you cannot give, and I make the statement in my book, you cannot give what you don't have. It is very difficult to love someone else if you do not have it for yourself. And it's just like, if I step on your feet, I will not understand how you feel, because I have not felt pain. So it works the same way. If I love myself and I know how much I love myself, I can say, you know what? That love, I can extend it to someone else, because I know how good it feels to love, to have love for me. And that love would be good for you too, be good to you as well. So, and I hope this day, and I hope this session today will help us understand how important it is to exercise, to be brave in loving ourselves and having empathy and compassion for each other, to look at ourselves as an extension, to look at the next person as an extension of ourselves. And thank you so much for everyone for listening, and thank you for sharing the space with me, Simon, and all of your moderators in this room. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And I pray God for this room, and I pray God for each and every one of you. And may the love of God be with you all, not just now, but from the days ahead. Thank you so much. And I yield my time.
Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.